Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Friday, May 28th, 2021. And our top story today, we'll take a look at the Indian retirement system, making old age and simple. Well, joining me now to discuss this and a lot more is Gautam Bhardwaj. He's co-founder of Pinbox Solutions. Gautam, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you, Jeffrey. It's wonderful to be with you.
Yeah, it's great. And before we kind of get into the Indian retirement system, I have to ask, you're in India. How are things going with the coronavirus pandemic? How are you dealing, you and your family and the people of India dealing with this horrific disease?
Well, I think this is clearly the most difficult time that our generation has ever faced. And I think it's both at the health level as well as, just at the economic level. It's having a very, very devastating toll. I think the second wave has been particularly bad. But what I find amazing is that how civil society and everyday citizens are stepping forward to help each other and to, lend a hand to people they've never met or don't know from Adam. And I think that's really amazing. I think it's brought out the best in a lot of us. And of course, I mean, many of my friends and colleagues have lost people in their families and loved ones. That has been particularly heart-wrenching.
And I do think that some of the most trying times do bring out some of the best in the human condition. So best of luck to you and the people of India. Let's jump in because I think what I'd like to do in the first segment is talk with you about the Indian retirement system. And from my understanding, and I want you to clarify for me, please, in the audience, India has some type of pension system, but maybe there are some people like here in the United States, although we don't have the same population numbers, there are people who are uncovered or maybe don't even have the ability to privately put money away. So first, tell us about the Indian pension system in general.
So the Indian pension system actually is not very different from what we see in other countries, both OECD and non-OECD. People in the salaried workforce, which is civil servants and people who work in large private sector firms, contribute to their pensions, or in the case of civil servants, traditionally they've been getting a pension funded through taxes. But this is a very small part of the population and covers barely 10%, 9 or 10% of the overall workforce of about 500 million people. So it leaves about 400 million plus people in India who are self-employed or non-salaried, outside of the being eligible for pensions, which typically salaried workers get as part of their employment contracts.
Yeah, and just looking at some of the numbers, the UN I think said that over 1.5 billion people do not have access to any type of pension. I think that's within these developing. What I would say developing markets. I don't know if that's the right way to describe those in India, but clearly there's something that needs to be done to give people the same level of access. More and more people, and it's true here in the States, it's true in other parts of Europe. There are more and more people that maybe don't work for a corporation or are self-employed. They have multiple jobs. They're gig workers. They need access, and that seems to be the case in India. How is that being addressed by policymakers there in the country?
So we've got, at the level of public policy, I think we've taken some really great steps. About 15 years ago, India actually embarked on its pension reform by setting up a new pension system, which today is, I think, cutting edge globally. It has probably the lowest fees and charges that I've seen in any other pension systems. It's really well designed. It's got central record keeping. Assets are managed by private asset managers. We've got about close to, I think, about 40 million people in the pension program already, including new civil servants who have, been brought into a contributions-based pension system. It's a DC program, but we still have a long way to go. In the sense, we are still at about 10% of the excluded workforce. But the good thing is that this pension system is actually capable of taking care of the retirement needs or retirement saving needs of people who don't have a salaried job, and like you said, who are farmers or gig workers or domestic help and others.
Yeah, and if my understanding is correct, a lot of emerging market countries, can't talk this morning, a lot of the emerging market countries like India already have an ecosystem in place to pay some sort of social security, similar, I guess, in some ways to what we have here in the United States. That bodes well for kind of leveraging that ecosystem for privatization and connectivity to reach some of these people, I would think.
Absolutely, Jeffrey. I think so. What is happening is that, interestingly, a lot of investment has actually gone into building digital financial inclusion infrastructure in multiple developing countries, including India. And I think India is really has set up a enviable track record in the way we've thought about a digital biometric national ID. We've got 1.2 billion people who've got unique national IDs, which are digital and which can be used for eKYC and verification purposes if people want to open digital financial accounts or bank accounts and so on and so forth. We've got about 600 million people with smartphones. We've got about another 600 odd million people using social media, including WhatsApp and Facebook, etc. Digital payments is growing very rapidly. Almost 400 million people today are using Google Pay or WhatsApp Pay or other digital means through a payment system set up by the Central Bank of India. So we've got all the, if I may say, the building blocks for achieving comprehensive pension inclusion already exist in India. And as you correctly said, that's also the case in Nigeria or Kenya or Indonesia or Malaysia or Bangladesh.
Yeah, and I find that absolutely fascinating. I mean, here, pretty much everybody has a smartphone. They have some device. They're connected. They're using TikTok and Twitter and hopefully checking out the Broadcast Retirement Network too. But the same holds true. It amazes me that they may not have access to a pension currently, but they do have access to a phone. And a lot of times these phones come, my understanding is these phones come preloaded with like Facebook or some of the social networks. And it's instant connectivity, which in the second segment, we're going to talk a little bit about what you're doing with Pinbox, but this really bodes well for that connectivity and leveraging that ecosystem to solve this financial problem.
Again, I think you're absolutely right. So the level of digital literacy, I think, has been extremely high and it's grown exponentially. But I think what has happened during the pandemic is that we've sort of leapfrogged. And I think what we've done in terms of digital adoption, whether it was digital payments or, the ways people buy, simple groceries from the neighborhood, shop during lockdowns and so on and so forth. So a lot of people have started becoming very adept at using digital and social media for everyday needs. And I think that bodes very well because then similar, we could leverage such let's say channels or the outreach that is already available in a very intuitive way for financial services as well.
Yeah. Well, Gautam, I want to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk to Gautam about Pinbox Solutions, a solution to really tap into the social media market and the social marketplace to create opportunity to save more for retirement, or at least save for retirement. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit Repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We're talking to Gautam Bhardwaj of Pinbox Solutions. Gautam, thanks for staying with us this morning.
Pleasure, Jeffrey. It's wonderful to be with you.
And we talked about the connectivity that exists in emerging markets like India. And, I mentioned Facebook, but WhatsApp is really popular in terms of connectivity. That exists today. So how does your firm, how does Pinbox kind of create this portable pension that allows individuals who may be gig workers, who maybe don't work for a big corporation, don't have access to a private sector retirement plan? How do they get access and save for their futures?
And that's a great question. I think, so what we've seen and what you were asking me earlier as well, since the digital finance ecosystem seems to exist in pretty much all developing countries now, one of the things that Pinbox is doing in its mission to, prevent old age, poverty among informal sector workers is to use technology as glue and, to use APIs as glue to sort of integrate and leverage existing digital finance ecosystems and infrastructure for pension inclusion. So what we've done is we've built a white labeled centralized platform, let's say, which helps any country to sort of jumpstart pension inclusion by setting up a marketplace, which people can use any device to, access and open pension accounts and operate their pension accounts. It's fully portable and so on and so forth. The big challenge in all of this was that if, let's say, I want to target 400 million people in India who don't have a pension, then the first thing I'll need to do is to spend billions of dollars in trying to motivate these 400 million people to sort of download some app and learn it from scratch. And, and then in India, as it is the case in many other countries, there are language constraints. So India has 14 regional languages besides Hindi and English. So I'll need my app to work in 16 languages, and digital literacy, therefore, would become a sort of a barrier to financial literacy and to pension inclusion. So what we've done is we had a great conversation with the Facebook and WhatsApp teams. And what we've simply done is we've replaced our app at the UI level with WhatsApp. So you have WhatsApp at the front end and our pension tech platform at the back end. And anybody now can use WhatsApp to open and operate a pension account. There's no paper, there's no cash. You can use any digital payment instrument to keep putting money in, and then you can find out your account balance. You can check your statements, file a claim or a complaint. Everything happens on WhatsApp. The one thing that is interesting is that WhatsApp has already built the language interface, the multilingual interface in its platform. So when we did a deep integration with WhatsApp, we benefit from that. So let's say my domestic health, she's from West Bengal, so she talks in Bengali, and she's able to interact with her pension account in her local language or her regional language. And so this intuitive, simple interface that WhatsApp has built where 500 million people in India are using this, we are able to then sidestep a lot of the investment. And I have to say that the WhatsApp team has been amazingly supportive in the way they've helped to put this thing together.
Yeah, and you know, we have something here in the States, which I know you follow all legislation policy, called the Pension Protection Act. That auto-enrollment for people in the private sector workforce within 401k plans really got people saving at a reasonable rate. I think it can always go up, and it defaulted them into what we call here in the States target date funds or multi-asset solutions. Two questions for you, just kind of begs the question. Two questions around, first is cybersecurity. You know, we just had the Colonial Pipeline hack here in the States. I want to ask you about protection, cybersecurity protection. I know that's a big focus of yours. And also fees. What do the fees look like?
Well, so interestingly, so on the cybersecurity, and it's not only cybersecurity, I think it's also questions of privacy, you know. And I think there, what we have a dual benefit now. One is WhatsApp and Facebook investing billions of dollars on the security at their end. And, you know, WhatsApp being, let's say, encrypted at both ends, gives a lot of confidence that there is nobody in the middle who can see the exchange of data and sharing of information, etc. And we've done internally on our platform itself, we are fully ISO certified, and we've done a huge amount of work on making sure that our platform itself is secure. So you get the benefit not only of the security that we bring in on our systems, but also on the customer interface side with our partners like Facebook or financial institutions who provide products for us, actually putting in serious shoulder and energy on questions of security and data privacy. On your other question on costs, well, so I mean, the all-in cost for a person who is wanting to operate a pension account in India through, let's say, us or even otherwise, is less than 50 basis points, okay, and of assets. And I think this is easily probably one of the lowest cost pension systems. Even in larger, you know, developed markets, we don't see such low costs. And whatever Pinbox has done, there is no premium to the, you know, simple access, the financial literacy that we provide, et cetera, et cetera. So there is no premium that people end up paying. In fact, when they buy financial products in an aggregated mode through the Pinbox platform, sometimes the cost of insurance, et cetera, can be cheaper than the cost of buying the same products at a retail level.
Yeah, look, if you can have scale, which you've achieved, and you can get more people in, it allows you to keep the costs down. And we see that here with plans like the Federal Thrift Savings Plan, which has probably the lowest cost of any 401k defined contribution type program in the world. Last question, let's talk about success milestones in terms of eating into that number where there are hundreds of millions of Indians who don't have access or didn't have access. Where have you seen that number kind of come down, and or in terms of the number of accounts being open, have you seen that rate continue to go up?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so we're like I was saying. I mean, I think for the informal sector, the pension program started only in 2009-10, and we've had 30 million accounts opened in 9-10. I mean, 30 million is probably the size of the populations of most countries. So we're doing well from that perspective, though I mean, if I looked at it, you know, from a glass half empty point of view, we still have a long way to go. But the good thing is that other countries where we have started doing work, let's say we worked with the government of Rwanda to help them to launch a national level micro pension program. They launched this 2 years ago, and 25% of the informal sector workforce has already opened digital micro pension accounts. In Rwanda, we've launched the same thing now in Kenya with Prudential and Zamara. And that program is picking up speed. So our sense is that today, the most important thing I think that we are seeing is an alignment of incentives and goals between how public policy wants, you know, pension inclusion from a public policy point of view, or even from a commercial perspective from the point of view of insurance companies and pension funds and so on and so forth, as well as from, say, development institutions and you know, think tanks and others. We are finding that a lot of people are very eagerly stepping forward and you know, willing to collaborate and cooperate in achieving a sustainable outcome and mass scale impact on pension inclusion.
Yeah, well, I like to see the use of technology, and if you've already got this existing infrastructure, not only in India but around the emerging markets, why not tap into it and lift people lift them up financially and also offer them financial security. Gautam, we're going to have to leave it there. Really great conversation. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And look, we look forward to having you back on again to give us an update very soon.
Thank you very much for having me on your program, Jeffrey. It was a pleasure meeting you, and all the very best. Stay safe.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, then drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the information in retirement markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. We're back again tomorrow, this time for BRN Weekly. We'll have a very special guest, and we'll take a look at some of our best segments for the week. It's going to be exciting, entertaining, and hey, educational. So until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.